श्री गुरु गौरांग गंधार गिरिधारी शिष्य राधारी जू की जय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरन मोहन जू की जय। प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद शतरशतश्मद श्रील भक्तिवेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील गुरुदेव की जय। नितिल विष्णुपाद शतरशतश्मद श्रील भक्तिवेदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद शतरशतश्मद श्रील भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद शतरशतश्मद श्रील भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद शतरशतश्मद श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्रील गोरक्षरस बाबूजी महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपनु गौरिया गुरु वार्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल पतदास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गोपार्षद वृंद की जय। नामचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट विरत गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री मुन देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्रीनिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि वो। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणति नामिने। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिषे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तरभक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तम् अनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदन्तस्तो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतम्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नायमां चरणान्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वां शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्। भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Let's see all who's here. Tanzrup Manjari Didi, Ganga Didi, Dandavat Pranams Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Gargaraji, Madhavi Didi. Oh, cool. You got a copy of Tattva Sandarbha by Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu. Awesome. Cool. Nice. I don't know who Ravi Gupta is, though. But yeah, Dandavat Pranams Madhavi Didi, everybody, Haribol. So I just arrived in Badger like maybe 20 minutes ago after 5 o'clock. All right, so let's see. What did we read yesterday? We read, what was it? We read about the times and places suitable for religious activities. And then, so whenever we perform some religious act, we must do it according to the time, kal, place, desha, and person, patra. Narad Muni has described about kal and desh so far. Now he'll describe to whom everything must be offered. So we read about kal and desh, and then we read about patra. Who is the patra? Who is the person unto whom everything must be offered? Experts decided that only the Supreme Lord Krishna, in whom all that is moving or non-moving is resting, is the best person whom everything must be given. Note, Krishna is the root of everything, and therefore he is the best patra, or person to whom everything must be given. At the Rajasuya sacrifice, although many demigods and sages were present, when there was a question of who should be worshipped first, everyone decided that Krishna is the most qualified. The entire universe is like a tree whose root is Krishna. Simply by worshipping him, one can worship all living entities. The Lord has created many bodies, many species, and resides in all of them as the Supersoul. The Supersoul is manifest to the individual soul according to the individual's development of knowledge, austerity, and so on. The Supersoul gives intelligence to the individual soul as far as he is able to grasp it. Therefore, we find the souls in different high and low positions. A living entity with the body of a bird or beast cannot take instructions from the Supreme Soul as adequately as an advanced human being. Deity worship was introduced when great sages saw people disrespectful to each other, that is, not respecting the Lord and all beings, specifically other devotees, at the beginning of Treta Yuga. Neophyte devotees, Prakrita Bhaktas or Kanishta Adhikaris, faithfully worship the Lord's deity with all paraphernalia, but they are envious of other devotees. The Lord is never satisfied with their service. There's a note here. For the neophytes who cannot properly appreciate the activities of authorized devotees, deity worship is the only way for purification and spiritual advancement. So here's a link to the next verse. Having described that Lord Krishna is the first and best recipient, the Supatra, of all offerings, Narad Muni will now describe that Krishna's devotees are also the best recipients. They are also Supatra. A qualified Brahman must be accepted as the best in the world. Because of his austerity, Vedic studies, and satisfaction, he becomes the counterpart body of the Lord. He becomes the counterpart body of the Lord. And there's a note here. A Vaishnav is superior to a Brahman. A Brahman knows that he is a Brahman, but a Vaishnav knows that he is not only a Brahman, but also an eternal servant of the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, worship of a Vaishnav is superior to worship of the deity. Even Krishna worships the Brahmins who purify the three worlds with their dust and preach the Lord's glories. The Brahmins want to worship Krishna, and similarly, Krishna wants to worship the Brahmins. Although a Brahman or Vaishnav is worshipped like the Lord, he remains his faithful servant and never tries to enjoy such prestige. Instructions for civilized human beings. And so then, how many verses did we read yesterday? Let me just check really quick. We read to verse 8. Okay. So, in this chapter, Narad Muni continues to describe the the path of Grihastas and concludes the discussion with a summary. In the previous chapter, the superiority of the Brahman was described. Now, Narad Muni describes the gradation among the Brahmins in different ashrams. So right now we're going to read the rules for Vedic rituals and transcending them, and avoiding irreligion, of 5 types of irreligion, and cultivating satisfaction. So that's what we're reading today. Okay. So rules for Vedic rituals and transcending them. So these are the gradation of Brahmins. First there's the karma nishta, which are grihastas who are devoted to performing rituals. Then there's the tapa, who are vanaprasthas, who are devoted to austerity. Then there's the swadhyaya nishta, who are the brahmacharis, who are devoted to studying and preaching the Vedas. And then there's the jnana nishta, who are the sannyasis, who are devoted to culturing knowledge and bhakti. Interesting order, huh? Grihastas, vanaprasthas, and brahmacharis and sannyasis. Karmanishta, taponishta, svadhyaya-nishta, and jnana-nishta. The latter are superior to the former in this list. Huh, that's interesting. So in here, the brahmacharis are superior to the vanaprasthas. That's very... okay. Whom to give charity? A person desiring liberation for oneself or one's ancestors should give charity to a jnana-nishta Brahman, or sannyasi. In his absence, charity may be given to other Brahmins, like the karmak nishtas. And then there's a note. Rules for the devotees. Those practicing pure bhakti need not perform karmas like this. That is, they need not find a jnana-nishta or a karma-nishta Brahman to give charity. Charity should be given to a devotee of Lord Krishna, even if he is not a Brahman. One who desires mukti worships jnanis, and one who desires prem worships pure devotees. But grihasta devotees still perform these acts of karma through appointed representatives to preserve the normal social standards. Examples are kings like Bharat and Ambarish. Inviting Brahmins while offering oblations to demigods invites... Interesting. Okay, so these are the rules for inviting Brahmins while offering oblations. To demigods, you invite only 2 Brahmins, and for the forefathers, you invite 3 Brahmins. In either case, only 1 Brahmin will also suffice. Even if one is opulent, he should not endeavor to invite more Brahmins or make expensive arrangements. There's an article by Srila Bhaman Goswami Maharaj, I think, called Vaishnav Seva. And it gets... all right, there's also one by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I think. Anyways, talks about this point of inviting tons of Vaishnavas to feed them. Anyways, okay, no need to invite more. If one arranges to feed many Brahmins during the Shraddha ceremony, there will be discrepancies in the time, place, respectability, ingredients, etc. One should offer prasad of the deity to a suitable Vaishnav or a Brahman at an auspicious time and place. This will cause everlasting benefit. One should offer prasad to the demigods, sages, forefathers, relatives, and others, seeing them as devotees of the Supreme Lord. Note, Muni Annam is force food, or food gained by proper means. It should be first offered to Lord Vishnu, then it is given to the Pitris and other suitable persons. One should never offer meat, eggs, or fish in the Shraddha ceremony if he is aware of religious principles. The Lord is pleased with preparations of ghee for the devotees and is not pleased when animals are killed. Giving up violence and envy toward all beings by mind, words, and body. That is the highest dharma for those who desire to advance in superior religion. Naitadrisha paro dharmo narinam sad dharmam ichchatam. Nyaso dandasya bhuteshu manuvak kaya jasya ya. Adrisha. I just want to see what that word... Naitadrisha. Okay. Okay, let's see, verse 8. What's naita drisha? Na, never. Eta drisha. Like this. Okay. Okay. So it's talking about the previous verse, which is... Okay. Ahimsa. All right, so we're going from verse 9. Let me put it on reading mode. Eke karma mayan yagyan gyanino yagyavitama atma samyamane niha juvati gyanadipite. Because of an awakening of spiritual knowledge, those who are intelligent in regard to sacrifice, who are actually aware of religious principles, and who are free from material desires, control the self in the fire of spiritual knowledge, or knowledge. They control the self in the fire of spiritual knowledge, or knowledge of the absolute truth. They may give up the processes of They may give up the process of ritualistic ceremonies. So devotees can give up these processes of rituals. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. People are generally very much interested in karma kanda, ritualistic ceremonies for elevation to higher planetary systems. But when one awakens his spiritual knowledge, he becomes uninterested in such elevation and engages himself fully in Jnana to find the objective of life. The objective of life is to stop completely the miseries of birth and death and to return home back to Godhead. When one cultivates knowledge for this purpose, he is considered to be on a higher platform than one who is engaged in karma yagya, or fruitive activities. Dravya yagyaryakshyamanam drishtva bhutani bibhyati eshamakaruno hanyad atajgyo hyasutriptruvam. Upon seeing the person engaged in performing the sacrifice, animals meant to be sacrificed, upon seeing the person engaged in performing sacrifice, animals to be sacrificed are extremely afraid, thinking, this merciless performer of sacrifices, being ignorant of the purpose of sacrifice and being most satisfied by killing others, will surely kill us. Poor animals. Purport. Animal sacrifice in the name of religion is currently practically all over the world in every established religion. It is said that Lord Jesus Christ, when 12 years old, was shocked to see the Jews sacrificing birds and animals in the synagogues, and that he therefore rejected the Jewish system of religion and started the religious system of Christianity, adhering to the Old Testament commandment, "Thou shalt not kill." At the present day, however, not only are animals killed in the name of sacrifice, but the killing of animals has increased enormously because of the increasing number of slaughterhouses. Slaughtering animals, either for religion or for food, is most abominable and is condemned herein. Unless one is merciless, one cannot sacrifice animals, either in the name of religion or for food. Tasmad daivo papanena munyanena pidharmavit santushto har aha kuryan nitya naimitiki kriya. Therefore, day by day, one who is actually aware of religious principles and is not heinously envious of poor animals should happily perform daily sacrifices, and those for certain occasions, they should perform daily sacrifices and those for certain occasions, with whatever food is available easily by the grace of the Lord. Purport. The word dharmavit, meaning one who knows the actual purpose of religion, is very significant. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 1866, Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja. It's Bhagavad Gita 1866. Oh, I just read that. Becoming Krishna conscious is the topmost stage in understanding religious principles. One who reaches this stage performs the archana process in devotional service. Anyone, whether a grahastha or sannyasi, can keep small deities of the Lord suitably packed or, if possible, installed, and thus worship the deities of Radha Krishna, Sita Ram, Lakshmi Narayan, Lord Jagannath, or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by offering food prepared in ghee and then offering the sanctified prasad to the forefathers, demigods, and other living entities as a matter of routine daily work. All the centers of our Krishna consciousness movement have deity worship programs very nicely going on, in which food is offered to the deity and distributed to the first-class Brahmins and Vaishnavas, and even to the people in general. This performance of sacrifice brings complete satisfaction. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement engage daily in such transcendental activities. Thus, in our Krishna consciousness movement, there is no question at all of killing animals. What verse are we reading up to? I just want to know. 29. Okay. Vidharma paradharmascha abhasa upama chala adharma shakha panchema dharmagyo dharmavatyajit. There are 5 branches of irreligion, appropriately known as irreligion, vidharma, religious principles for which one is unfit, paradharma, pretentious religion, abhas, analogical religion, upadharma, and cheating religion, chaladharma. One who is aware of real religious life must abandon these 5 as irreligious. Purport. Any religious principles opposed to the principle of surrendering to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, are considered religious principles of irregularity or cheating, and one who is actually interested in religion must give them up. One should simply follow the instructions of Krishna and surrender unto him. To do this, of course, one needs very good intelligence, which may be awakened after many, many births through good association with devotees and the practice of Krishna consciousness. Everything but the principle of religion recommended by Krishna, Sarvadharma parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja, should be given up as irreligion. Dharma bado vidharma syat paradharma nyachodita upadharmas tupakando dambho va shabdabhit-chala. Shabdabhit means by word jugglery. Chala. Religious principles that obstruct one from following his own religion are called vidharma. Religious principles introduced by others are called paradharma. A new type of religion created by one who is falsely proud and who opposes the principles of the Vedas is called upadharma. And interpretation by one's jugglery of words is called chaladharma. Okay, so vidharma is opposing religions, paradharma, religions created by others. What's the difference between? Wonder what the difference is between upadharma and vidharma. They seem pretty similar. And then an interpretation of by one's jugglery of words is called chaladharma. Okay, purport. To create a new type of dharma has become fashionable in this age. So-called swamis and yogis support that one may follow any type of religious system according to one's own choice, because all systems are ultimately the same. Jatta mata tatta patta. In Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, that's also called Samanvayad, right? Sorry, what is it called? Samanvayavad, I think, yeah. In Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, however, such fashionable ideas are called vidharma, because they go against one's own religious system. The real religious system is described by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sarva Dharmam Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. The real religious system is that of surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord. In the 6th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, in connection with Ajamil's deliverance, Yamaraj says, Dharmam tu shakshad bhagavat pranitam. Real religion is that which is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as real law is that which is given by the government. No one can manufacture actual law at home, nor can one manufacture actual religion. Elsewhere it is said, Savai pungsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje. The real religious system is that which leads one to become a devotee of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Anything opposed to this religious system of progressive Krishna consciousness is called Vidharma, Paradharma, Upadharma, or Chaladharma. Misinterpretation of Bhagavad Gita is Chaladharma. When Krishna directly says something and some rascal interprets it to mean something different, this is called Chaladharma, a religious system of cheating, or Shabdabhit, a jugglery of words. One should be extremely careful to avoid these various types of cheating systems of religion. Yastvichaya krita pumbir abhaso yashramat pratak swabhava vihito dharma kasya nishta prashantaye. A pretentious religious system manufactured by one who willfully neglects the prescribed duties of his order of life is called abhas, a dim reflection or false similarity. But if one performs the prescribed duties for his particular ashram or varna, why are they not sufficient to mitigate all material distress? Purport. It is indicated here that everyone should strictly follow the principles of varna and ashram as given in the Shastra. In the Vishnu Puran 389, it is said, Varnashrama charavata purushena parapuman Vishnur aradhate pantha nanyat tat toshakaranam. One should focus upon the destination for progress, which is to become Krishna conscious. This is the aim and the end of all varnas and ashrams. However, if Vishnu is not worshipped, the followers of the varnashram institution manufacture some concocted god. Thus, it has now become fashionable for any rascal or fool to be elected god. And there are many missionaries who have concocted their own gods, giving up the relationship with the real God. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly said that one who worships the demigods has lost his intelligence. Nonetheless, we find that even an illiterate person who has lost all intelligence is elected a god, and although he has a temple, it has meat-eating sannyasis, and many polluted activities go on there. This type of religious system, which misguides its poor followers, is strictly forbidden. Such pretentious religions should be stopped altogether. The original system is that a Brahmin should actually become a Brahmin. He should not only take birth in a Brahmin family, but must also be qualified. Also, even if one is not born in a Brahmin family but has Brahminical qualifications, he must be considered a Brahmin. By strictly following this system, one can be happy without extra endeavor. Sabhava vihito dharma kasya neshta prashantaye. The real aim of life is to mitigate distress, and one can do this very easily by following the principles of Shastra. Dharmartham api neheta yatrartam vadhano dhanam ani hani hamanasya mahahir ihavrittida. Even if a man is poor, he should not endeavor to improve his economic condition just to maintain. He should not endeavor to improve his economic condition just to maintain his body and soul together, or to become a famous religionist. Just as a great python, although lying in one place, not endeavoring for its livelihood, gets the food it needs to maintain body and soul, one who is desireless also obtains his livelihood without endeavor. Purport. Human life is simply meant for developing Krishna consciousness. One need not even try to earn a livelihood to maintain body and soul together. This is illustrated here by the example of the great python, which lies in one place, never going here and there to earn a livelihood to maintain itself, and yet is maintained by the grace of the Lord. As advised by Narad Muni in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.5.18, Tasyaiva heta prayateta kovida. One should simply endeavor to increase his Krishna consciousness. One should not desire to do anything else, even to earn his livelihood. There are many, many examples of this attitude. Madhavendra Puri, for instance, would never go to anyone to ask for food. Shukadev Goswami has also said, Kasmar bhajanti kavayo dhana durmadhadan. Why should one approach a person who is blind with wealth? Rather, one should depend on Krishna, and he will give everything. All the members of our Krishna consciousness movement, whether they be grihastas or sannyasis should try to spread the Krishna consciousness movement with determination, and Krishna will supply all necessities. The process of ajagarvritti, the means of livelihood of a python, is very much appreciated in this regard. Even though one may be very poor, he should simply try to advance in Krishna consciousness and not endeavor to earn his livelihood. Santushtasya nirihasya svatma ramasya yat sukam kutastat kamalobhena dhavatorte hayadisha. One who is content and satisfied, and who links his activities with the Supreme Personality of Godhead residing in everyone's heart, enjoys transcendental happiness without endeavoring for his livelihood. Where is such happiness for a materialistic man who is impelled by lust and greed, and who therefore wanders in all directions with a desire to accumulate wealth? Sada santushta manasa sarva shiva maya disha sharkara kantaka dibhyo yato panat pada shivam. For a person who has suitable shoes on his feet, there is no danger even when he walks on pebbles and thorns. For him, everything is auspicious. Similarly, for one who is always self-satisfied, there is no distress. Indeed, he feels happiness everywhere. Santushta kinava rajan na varte tapi varina opastya jaivakarpanyar kriha palayate jana. Uh-oh. Is there something wrong? Okay. Visheshwari Mataji will listen later. Okay. My dear king, a self-satisfied person can be happy even with only drinking water. However, one who is driven by the senses, especially by the tongue and genitals, must accept the position of a household dog to satisfy his senses. That's a cool verse. Purport. According to the Shastras, a Brahman, or a cultured person in Krishna consciousness, will not enter anyone's service to maintain body and soul together, and especially not for satisfaction of the senses. A true Brahman is always satisfied. Even if he has nothing to eat, he can drink a little water and be satisfied. This is only a matter of practice. Unfortunately, however, no one is educated in how to be satisfied in self-realization. As explained above, a devotee is always satisfied because he feels the presence of the Supersoul within his heart and thinks of him 24 hours a day. That is real satisfaction. A devotee is never driven by the dictations of the tongue and genitals, and thus he is never victimized by the laws of material nature. Asantushtasya viprasya tejo vidyatapo yasha Shravantindriyalolena Jnanam Chaiva Vakiryate. Because of greed for the sake of the senses, the spiritual strength, education, austerity, and reputation of a devotee or Brahman who is not self-satisfied dwindle, and his knowledge gradually vanishes. Because of greed for the sake of the senses, the spiritual strength, education, austerity, and reputation of a devotee or Brahman who is not self-satisfied dwindle, and his knowledge gradually vanishes. Kamasyantam hikshutridbhyam krodhasyaitat falodayat janoyati nalobhasya jitva bhuktva disho bhuva. The strong bodily desires and needs of a person disturbed by hunger and thirst are certainly satisfied when he eats. Similarly, if one becomes very angry, that anger is satiated by chastisement and its reaction. But as for greed, even if a greedy person has conquered all the directions of the world or has enjoyed everything in the world, still he will not be satisfied. I mean, this is just like a very simplistic example, but I know when I don't eat chocolate for a long time, I don't really crave it that much. But as soon as I take a little more chocolate, then I want more. And the more I eat, the more I want. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 3:37, it is stated that lust, anger, and greed are the causes of the conditioned soul's bondage in this material world. Kama isha, krodha isha, rajo guna samudbhava. When strong, lusty desires for sense gratification are unfulfilled, one becomes angry. This anger can be satisfied when one chastises his enemy, but when there is an increase in lobh, or greed, which is the greatest enemy caused by rajagun, the mode of passion, how can one advance in Krishna consciousness? If one is very greedy to enhance his Krishna consciousness, this is a great boon. Tatra lolyam ekalam mulam. This is the best path available. Pandita bhavo rajan bahugya sangshaya chida sadhasas patayopyeke asantoshat patantyada. O King Yudhishthir, many persons with varied experience, many legal advisors, many learned scholars, and many persons eligible to become presidents of learned assemblies fall down into hellish life because of not being satisfied with their positions. Purport. For spiritual advancement, one should be materially satisfied, for if one is not materially satisfied, his greed for material development will result in the frustration of his spiritual advancement. There are two things that nullify all good qualities. One is poverty, daridro dosha guna rashi nashi. If one is poverty-stricken, all his good qualities become null and void. Similarly, if one becomes too greedy, his good qualifications are lost. Therefore, the adjustment is that one should not be poverty-stricken, but one must try to be fully satisfied with the bare necessities of life and not be greedy. For a devotee to be satisfied with the bare necessities is therefore the best advice for spiritual advancement. Learned authorities in devotional life consequently advise that one not endeavor to increase the number of temples and mats. Such activities can be undertaken only by devotees experienced in propagating the Krishna consciousness movement. All the acharyas in South India, especially Sri Ramanujacharya, constructed many big temples, and in North India, all the Goswamis of Vrindavan constructed large temples. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also constructed large centers known as Gaudiya Mats. Therefore, temple construction is not bad, provided proper care is taken for the propagation of Krishna consciousness. Even if such endeavors are considered greedy, the greed is to satisfy Krishna, and therefore, these are spiritual activities. Asankalpa jayat kaman, krodham kama vivarjanat, arthanarte kshaya lobham, bhayam tattva marshanat. By making plans with determination, one should give up lusty desires for sense gratification. Similarly, by giving up envy, one should conquer anger. By discussing the disadvantages of accumulating wealth, one should give up greed. And by discussing the truth, one should give up fear. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has suggested how one can conquer lusty desires for sense gratification. One cannot give up thinking of women, for thinking in this way is natural. Even while walking on the street, one will see so many women. However, if one is determined not to live with a woman, even while seeing a woman, he will not become lusty. If one is determined not to have sex, he can automatically conquer lusty desires. The example given in this regard is that even if one is hungry, if on a particular day he is determined to observe fasting, he can naturally conquer the disturbances of hunger and thirst. If one is determined not to be envious of anyone, he can naturally conquer anger. Similarly, one can give up the desire to accumulate wealth simply by considering how difficult it is to protect the money in one's possession. If one keeps a large amount of cash with him, he is always anxious about keeping it properly. Thus, if one discusses the disadvantages of accumulating wealth, he can naturally give up business without difficulty. Anvikshikyal shukamoho dambham mahad upasaya yogantarayan monena himsam kamadhanihaya. By discussing spiritual knowledge, one can conquer lamentation and illusion. By serving a great devotee, one can become prideless. By keeping silent, one can avoid obstacles on the path of mystic yoga. And simply by stopping sense gratification, one can conquer envy. Purport. If one's son has died, one may certainly be affected by lamentation and illusion and cry for the dead son. But one may overcome lamentation and illusion by considering the verses of Bhagavad Gita. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha. As the soul transmigrates, one who has taken birth must give up the present body, and then he must certainly accept another body. This should be no cause for lamentation. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, Dhiras tatra namuhyati. One who is dhira, or sober, who is learned in philosophy and established in knowledge, cannot be unhappy over the transmigration of the soul. Kripaya bhutajam dukam daivam jahyat samadhina atmajam yoga viryena nidram sattva nishevaya. By good behavior and freedom from envy, one should counteract sufferings due to other living entities. By meditation and trance, one should counteract sufferings due to providence. And by practicing hatha yoga, pranayama, and so forth, one should counteract sufferings due to the body and mind. Similarly, by developing the mode of goodness, especially in regard to eating, one should conquer sleep. That's interesting. Purport. By practice, one should avoid eating in such a way that other living entities will be disturbed and suffer. Since I suffer when pinched or killed by others, I should not attempt to pinch or kill any other living entity. People do not know that because of killing innocent animals, they themselves will have to suffer severe reactions from material nature. Any country where people indulge in unnecessary killing of animals will have to suffer from wars and pestilence imposed by material nature. What's pestilence mean? Pestilence is a fatal epidemic disease, especially bubonic plague. Corona. All because of meat eaters. I'm just joking. I don't know. Okay. Comparing one's own suffering to the suffering of others, therefore, one should be kind to all living entities. One cannot avoid the sufferings inflicted by providence, and therefore, when suffering comes, one should fully absorb oneself in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. One can avoid sufferings from the body and mind by practicing mystic hatha yoga. Rajastamascha satvena sattvam chopashamena cha etat sarvam guru bhaktya purusho hyanjasa jayet. One must conquer the modes of passion and ignorance by developing the mode of goodness, and then one must become detached from the mode of goodness by promoting oneself to the platform of Shuddha Sattva. All this can be automatically done if one engages in the service of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. In this way, one can conquer the influence of the modes of nature. Purport. Just by treating the root cause of ailment, one can conquer all bodily pains and sufferings. Similarly, if one is devoted and faithful to the spiritual master, he can conquer the influence of sattvagun, rajogun, and tamagun very easily. Yogis and jnanis practice in many ways to conquer the senses, but the bhakta immediately attains the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the mercy of spiritual master. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado. If the spiritual master is favorably inclined, one naturally receives the mercy of the Supreme Lord, and by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, one immediately becomes transcendental, conquering all the influences of sattvagun, rajogun, and tamagun within this material world. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Sa gunan samatik daitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. If one is a pure devotee acting under the directions of the Guru, one easily gets the mercy of the Supreme Lord and thus becomes immediately situated on the transcendental platform. This is explained in the next verse. Yasya shakshar bhagavati jnanadipa prade guru martyasad dhishrutam tasya sarvam kunjarashochavat. The spiritual master should be considered to be directly the Supreme Lord because he gives transcendental knowledge for enlightenment. Consequently, for one who maintains the material conception that the spiritual master is an ordinary human being, everything is frustrated. His enlightenment and his Vedic studies and knowledge are like the bathing of an elephant. Wow, this is an important verse. Let me reread this. It's such an important verse. The spiritual master should be considered to be directly the Supreme Lord because he gives transcendental knowledge for enlightenment. Consequently, for one who maintains the material conception that the spiritual master is an ordinary human being, everything is frustrated. His enlightenment and his Vedic studies and knowledge are like the bathing of an elephant. This is so relevant to the times nowadays. Purport. It is recommended that one honor the spiritual master as being on the equal status with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shakshad dharitvena samasta shastra. This is enjoined in every scripture. Acharyam mam vijaniyat. One should consider the Acharya to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In spite of all these instructions, if one considers the spiritual master an ordinary human being, one is doomed. His study of the Vedas and his austerities and penances for enlightenment are all useless, like the bathing of an elephant. An elephant bathes in a lake quite thoroughly, but as soon as it comes on the shore, it takes some dust from the ground and strews it all over his body. Thus, there is no meaning to the elephant's bath. One may argue by saying that since the spiritual master's relatives and the men of his neighborhood consider him an ordinary human being, what is the fault on the part of the disciple who considers the spiritual master an ordinary human being? This will be answered in the next verse, but the injunction is that the spiritual master should never be considered an ordinary man. One should strictly adhere to the instructions of the spiritual master, for if he is pleased, certainly the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado, yasya prasadhan nagati kutopi. Oh, I've seen this verse before. This is a famous verse. Esha vai Bhagavan Shakshat Pradhana Purusheshvara Yogeshwarar Vimrigyan Grir Lokoyam Manyate Naram. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is the master of all other living entities and of the material nature. His lotus feet are sought and worshipped by great saintly persons like Vyas. Nonetheless, there are fools who consider Lord Krishna an ordinary human being. Purport. The example of Lord Krishna as being the Supreme Personality of Godhead is appropriate in regard to understanding the spiritual master. The spiritual master is called Sevak Bhagavan, the servitor personality of Godhead, and Krishna is called Sevya Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is to be worshipped. The spiritual master is the worshipper God, whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the worshipable God. This is the difference between the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One is the Ashray Vigraha, the other, Krishna, is the Vishray Vigraha. Another point. Bhagavad Gita, which constitutes the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is presented by the spiritual master as it is, without deviation. Therefore, the absolute truth is present in the spiritual master. As clearly stated in text 26, Jnana Dipa Prade, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives real knowledge to the entire world, and the spiritual master, as a representative of the Supreme Godhead, carries the message throughout the world. Therefore, on the absolute platform, there is no difference between the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If someone considers the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna or Lord Ramachandra, to be an ordinary human being, this does not mean that the Lord becomes an ordinary human being. Similarly, if the family members of the spiritual master, who is the bona fide representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Consider the spiritual master an ordinary human being. This does not mean that he becomes an ordinary human being. The spiritual master is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore, one who is very serious about spiritual advancement must regard the spiritual master in this way. Even a slight deviation from this understanding can create disaster in the disciples' Vedic studies and austerities. Shardvarga samyamaikanta sarvaniyamachodana tar antayadino yogan avaheyu shramavaha. Ritualistic ceremonies, regulative principles, austerities, and the practice of yoga are all meant to control the senses and mind. But even after one is able to control the senses and mind, if he does not come to the point of meditation upon the Supreme Lord, all such activities are simply labor and frustration. This is the purpose of yoga. If one's not coming to the point of meditation on the Supreme Lord, then all one's yoga is useless. All meditation, all that kind of stuff. What's the point? Purport. One may argue that one may achieve the ultimate goal of life, realization of the Supersoul, by practicing the yoga system and ritualistic performances according to the Vedic principles, even without staunch devotion to the spiritual master. The actual fact, however, is that by practicing yoga, one must come to the platform of meditating upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in the scriptures, Dhyana vastita targatena manasa pashyanti yam yogina. It's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 12:13:1. A person in meditation achieves the perfection of yoga practice when he can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By various practices, one may come to the point of controlling the senses, but simply controlling the senses does not bring one to a substantial conclusion. However, by staunch faith in the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one not only controls the senses, but also reaches the Supreme Lord. Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tata guru tasyate katita hyarta prakashante mahatmana. Oh God. Can I just... give me a second, guys. Whatever. I'm not gonna... Actually, no, I have it on my phone. I can just pull it up really quick. It got funky. I just want to see what's in the book and what's not in the book. 1 second. Read Pocket Vedas. Shoot. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second here. We're on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 7, last chapter, verse... what is this? This is 28. Verse 28. There, got it. Okay, so the purport. Okay, yeah, so it gives this verse. Yasya deve parabhaktir yata deve tata guru tasita katita yarta prakashante mahatmana. This is all not in the book. This is some glitch. Okay. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of the Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. That's from Shvetashvatar Upanishad 6.23. It is further stated, Tushayam sarvabhutatma guru shushushaya, and tarantyajo bhavarnavam. Simply by rendering service to the spiritual master, one crosses the ocean of nescience and returns home back to Godhead. Thus he gradually sees the Supreme Lord face to face and enjoys life and association with the Lord. The ultimate goal of yoga is to come in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless this point is achieved, one's so-called yoga practice is simply labor without any benefit. Okay, we're on the last verse for today's reading. Yata varta dayo hyarta yogasyartam nabhibhrati anarthaya bhave yusma purtam ishtam tata sata. As professional activities or business profits cannot help one in spiritual advancement, but are a source of material entanglement, the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies cannot help anyone who is not a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. If one becomes very rich through his professional activities, through trade or through agriculture, this does not mean that he is spiritually advanced. To be spiritually advanced is different from being materially rich. Although the purpose of life is to become spiritually rich, unfortunate men, misguided as they are always engaged in trying to become materially rich. Such material engagements, however, do not help one in the actual fulfillment mission. On the contrary, material engagements lead one to be attracted to many unnecessary necessities, which are accompanied by the risk that one may be born in a degraded condition, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14:18. Urdhvam gachanti sattvasta madhe tishtanti rajasa jaghanya gunavrittista adho gachanti tamasa. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. Especially in this Kali Yuga, material advancement means degradation and attraction to many unwanted necessities that create a low mentality. Therefore, Jaganya Guna Vrittista. Since people are contaminated by the lower qualities, they will lead their next lives either as animals or in other degraded forms of life. Making a show of religion without Krishna consciousness may make one popular in the estimation of unintelligent men, but factually, such a materialistic display of spiritual advancement does not help one at all. It will not prevent one from it will not prevent one from missing the goal of life. All right, so, oh my God, there's been internet problems, huh? Anyway, sorry for the internet going out if it's been going out. So let's see what we read up to 29. And so tomorrow we will read about the process of liberation for the householder. One's occupation through the procedures, one's occupation, the produces, cannot make one spiritually advanced. Similarly, Vedic rituals done by non-devotees do not bring about attainment of the Lord. And then tomorrow we'll read the process of liberation for the householder. To conquer the mind, one must leave the family and live alone independently by begging as much food as he needs to maintain himself. So that's sannyas. And then we read about asana, pranayam, controlling the mind, peaceful mind. We'll read about the vantashi sannyasi, vomit eater sannyasi, asatama sannyasi, the great sinner sannyasi. Abominable actions in different ashrams. The human form of life is meant for understanding the self and the supreme self. All right. All right. So, all right. See you tomorrow. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Oh, Dandavat Pranams, Indira Mataji, and Champak Didi. I didn't see you. Come on. All right. Jai Shishi Guru Garangandar Vikagiri Dhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatarashatashmad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shila Guru Dev ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatarashatashmad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatarashatashmad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Pata Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Pata Dashagunath Shara Goswami Prabhu ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki Jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रजमंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंद श्याम कुंद की जय। श्री मुन देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाय की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवाशाचार्य कृष्ण भक्ति पददेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Dandava pranams everybody. I shouldn't have done this, but I couldn't help myself. I ordered a nice microphone instead of just having this little thing, so that it will sound nicer. I just got it with Gaudiya Kirtan money, because this is kind of Gaudiya Kirtan related, and I'll use this for Gaudiya Kirtan videos, and also I need to do some recording while I'm here. But anyhow, yeah, I just bought a nice microphone. So it will come soon, and then the sound will be a lot more pleasant. Mantra Murti Mataji, yes, it is cold here, but I think tomorrow tomorrow it's supposed to snow, which is going to be kind of fun. I haven't seen snow since 2004, so yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, Haribo Bhavatarani Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, Haribo. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me, and see you tomorrow. I think there's only 2 more days left in the 7th canto, and then the day after, then after that, maybe we'll spend 1 day reading about the 8th canto, the summary thing, the Bhagavat Pravaha summary that I've been reading from, and also then it's going to be Gita Jayanti. And Indira Mataji, she's going to be traveling on a train for 2 days, so it'd be nice if we can give her time to, so that she doesn't fall behind. So that we could read there's going to be a big festival here. There's flyers, and it's going to be a whole thing. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a online Bhagavad Gita reading. Maybe. Depends. If they don't need me, and it's like there's already enough people to do it, and it's not like there's no need to be, then I'll just do it online here so that we could all do it together. But I did it last year. Hey, yeah, Manjari. All right. Dandavat pranams, everybody. See you tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe.